Hey, it's Jake. Welcome to our first DM deep dive. We're going to be talking about how to handle an optimizer in your group. So what I mean by an optimizer is somebody who knows the rules really well and knows just how to twist and wring the most output out of them. So people that do like 150 damage in one turn. People that have the ability to roll and re-roll and re-roll until they succeed. Generally, optimizers aren't really a bad thing, but it can suck if other people in your group just aren't that good at making their characters, or just didn't have a focus of making their characters really excel at one thing. Optimizers are usually optimized for combat. So I'm going to be mostly talking about that. It could be that they excel at doing like force damage. So you start making enemies that have magical shields that are all immune to force damage. And that's really boring for the optimizer and really frustrating too. If they've spent hours looking at YouTube videos or just figuring it out on their own to make a character awesome at one thing, and you take away that one thing, that was their focus. That's what they were interested in doing. Might have even taken away their interest in playing the game at all, or at least at your table. So instead of just giving the enemy a magic item that counteracts somehow the one thing that the optimizer was great at, let's talk about some other options. Maybe you could talk to the optimizer. Just schedule some time away from combat or before or after a session. You could ask them how they would handle that, what they think would be a good solution. That's one option, but most people who are optimized in that way aren't really going to be caring about what other people feel about their optimization. They just want to do their fun thing, and it didn't really occur to them that it's going to bother somebody else. They're just having fun. So usually people won't have an answer for what could be done about it. After all, that's your job, you're the DM. But I'm covering this first because this is common advice that I've seen on YouTube. Just talk to them and work it out. That doesn't always work, but okay, fine, it's an option. So you could talk to the optimizer and say, hey, everybody else is feeling kind of crappy. What do you think would be a good option? And they might tone it down. That's really the most they can do. They might say, well, I can play this other character that has this other interest, and they're amazing at this one other thing instead. But if you have an optimizer in your group, they're going to be optimizing any character they play, because that's who they are. That's how they're having fun. So instead, once you see that this is happening, don't let the sessions go on for too much longer after that before you take each player aside out of game and talk to them about it. Talk to them about the situation. Maybe nobody else cares. Maybe it's just something that you have to deal with as the DM and have your monsters like go out of their way to attack that guy. Or maybe you have to have separate kinds of combats. Have that one optimizer like taken off into a different area of the cavern that's the big bad evil guy's end chamber, and he can annihilate the big bad evil guy. And in the meantime, all the other people in the party will be attacking the minions, and that's a challenge for them. So it feels to them like they're having fun. So you can have different areas of the combat happening with people that have different strengths. A big thing to remember is that people play this game for all sorts of different reasons. Not everybody who plays wants to just cut heads off. It could be that the rogue in your party wants to have an elaborate history, wants to have a family with a mansion, and they have their own family retainers. That's the special breed of, half vampire creature that they take on trips with them. That's fun for them. It doesn't really impact anything that you're trying to throw against the party, and it doesn't really impair anyone else in what they're doing. Just find what they want to be good at and speak to their strengths. If they care mostly about, well, I just want a reputation as the most amazing bard ever, great. Then they can be great in town, and they can attract followers, and they can get new magical songs that they learn. It doesn't have to follow the rules. You can help them be better at what they care about, not what the optimizer is doing. And everybody's still going to be happy. Yeah, it requires more work on your part. But in the end, it's more fun for everybody. And also, it's less stress for you because you'll have less people pissed off. This can be something as simple as the wizard in your group just wants to have a boyfriend. And that's why they're playing. They want the social interaction. They want to feel like they're having ties for this character and building up a history and lore for this character. So help them do that. That could be in or outside of combat. They can even have their lover with them in the combat, and don't take out the lover because that's messed up if that's what they want mostly out of their character. But you can have them support each other and be helpful, and maybe even have like this magical friends ring that allow them to cast warding bond on each other at different times to help them out in combat. Or they're just a contact in town. The NPC can just be a way to get other people involved in the community or the lore of your world, the history, or finding other magic secrets, other adventures. It can be, you can have many purposes to one thing that you're doing for one of the player characters. Like if the fighter wants to rewrite their history and they instead want to be a cleric of Shar. Okay, great, fine. Then you can, since they're excited about that, you can spend extra time on that, build up their history, help them have connections to certain NPCs and certain temples and certain cities, and then use those as plot hooks to get people involved in the adventures and lore that you want them interested in. So having an optimizer in the group, in a way, is beneficial because it gives other people the idea that, oh, they can be really good at something too. And that can help build up and flesh out your world and the network of adventures that you can have people go on. Let's say, for sake of argument, everybody in your group cares mainly about combat. Your optimizer is just way better at being good at combat. They have rigged their character up to be amazing, impressive, and boring for everyone else. So let's say the paladin kills a bad guy in one hit. Fine. Okay, they killed the big bad evil guy. Yay, everybody's rejoicing. People are assessing injuries, and the cleric starts casting Cure Wounds. And while that's happening, and people are talking about treasure they find and whatnot, you have the rogue roll perception, and they're the only ones who are permitted to make this check because they're a scout. That's what their specialty is. And they hear a hissing coming from a nearby stone wall. They are the only person that is allowed to act then in the next round of combat after that wall explodes and knocks everyone prone. It's not a huge thing, but giving them one extra round of combat before everyone else gets to go really lets them shine, not just at their scoutiness, but also at their sneak attack ability. So they might not be like as annihilating as the paladin, but you're still giving them their moment to shine in combat. And that's important. People just want to feel good. Like some of the best DMs don't really keep track of points of damage or even number of times the bad guy's attacked. They just wait until everybody gets to do something fun and interesting, and then the bad guy dies in the next hit. Yeah, it's cheesy. Fine, it's more story than following the mechanics of the game, but it makes people happy. And they enjoy it. They love that session. And great memories come from that too. Trying to help out the strengths of all of the non-optimizers is going to require a change in thinking. But just try a few things. Even if the players aren't sure, aside from the game sessions, when you talk to them, about how to help them, just try it out in combat. Just try a few things and see if they like it. And if, arguments arise from it or whatever, it's still best to help people feel better at what they're doing than trying to limit people from being able to do what they want to do. Not just because that sucks in game, but because people are sensitive. And if you tell them, no, you can't do the thing you wanted to do, I was wrong to let you do that, you can't do that anymore, play a different character, you're going to piss people off. And you don't want to lose people to your group. And if people stay there and they're pissed off, that becomes toxic for everybody. So just try to encourage the other people to be good at something, unless they just don't care. And then just have fun. That's the bottom line anyway. All of this, though, is without even talking about magic items. Let's say that your wizard or sorcerer or whatever only has blast spells in their repertoire. Because that's what they do. They just want to blast things. But no other class in the group has the ability to do certain utility functions that, in theory, they could do. They just didn't choose that. Well, you can have a magic item found that only works for them for some reason. Maybe it only works for arcane casters, or it only works for their race, or they have to pass some sort of wisdom check, or saving throw, or whatever. But for whatever reason, it only works for them. Then they have that benefit, and they still get to do the blasting that they wanted to. So they're helping out the party in the way that they needed to, even though they made poor choices in the beginning for flexibility. Let's say they chose the War Mage. And there are people who just keep failing saving throws that become lethal. Well, maybe they could find a magic hourglass that gives them the ability to let other people re-roll things, or even like replay an entire round of combat if it goes really poorly. In a way, they're doing the job of the DM at that point. You're giving them the tools to let them help other players by saying, that round was kind of terrible on you guys, let's just redo it. Which is sometimes something that DMs are tempted to do. Just say, well, that was really bad, I take it back. Give that power to the players. Another way you can help players feel special is hopefully you can tie it into their backstory, their character history. Like, let's say a tiefling has a visit from their demonic daddy, and they are bestowed with a power to set a warp point. So they set an area as their designation of a point to return to if things go really poorly. It's a save point. So like, let's say that characters die over the next day and they hit the reset button. So they go back there, and maybe it doesn't even affect, maybe the characters don't even know that this happened, but the players are just thrilled that they didn't just lose everything that they've been working on. That makes somebody feel really cool too. And it's really not impacting the DM negatively in the slightest. I mean, maybe they can only do that like once per event or day or session or encounter or week or whatever. But if you can give the credit or responsibility to somebody else in your group, always do it if you can. Because it makes them network better. It makes them a better team. And frankly, they like you more. I know, it's not a popularity contest. It's a popularity contest. Everybody knows that. What do you do if you have one person who is just like a raging barbarian who's just slaughtering everything? Like way before the other players can get to it. And the other players don't really seem to have any care about other aspects of the game except combat. It sounds like you're kind of stuck, but you could occasionally have a monster that can't be killed by just slaughtery barbarian. What if you have a monster that is, instead of just having an armor class and a set number of hit points, it regenerates a ridiculous amount every round, or is impervious to nearly everything except music, singing. Like you have to make a performance check to hit it. And you roll damage based on your bardic music dice. So then only the bard can actually injure this thing. And that gives an opportunity to that barbarian to try other things in combat. They might have even been getting bored. I've had that happen before, where the player was like, I just walk in and everything dies. I want a different kind of challenge. Try to think outside the box. If you have any requests, if you have any requests or suggestions or questions, let me know, and I'll be happy to answer them. Maybe do another video to follow up with this one about what you would do in certain specific situations. Because problem solving like this can be really fun too. And check me out on Discord if you want. Just message me. Because like, I always have my phone with me, if nothing else. I can respond. This was fun. I got to share some of my thoughts about what I've been through as a DM. And how to get over some really annoying obstacles. Even when people don't know what they want. So, thanks for the opportunity. And, I'll see you later. And, okay, I love you. Bye-bye.